Today, it is my absolute honor to welcome some of our esteemed ambassadors for the World Tribal Alliance. These individuals are living deliberate, proactive, calibrated lives. And once again, it's a true honor to have you all here today for this most enlightening conversation. I'd like to start by introducing everybody on the call. First of all, we have Sri Mohanji. Mohanji is the founder of the World Tribal Alliance, a spiritual leader, educator, philanthropist, and environmental advocate. Through over 20 charitable platforms under the Mohanji Foundation, his teams deliver Anandan, which means free food, disaster relief, education, animal welfare, and nature protection programs across all 6 continents, serving millions of meals each year. His work champions practical spirituality, compassion in action, dignity for all beings, and stewardship of the earth. Okay, Craig Foster. Craig is an Oscar and BAFTA-winning filmmaker, naturalist, author, and ocean explorer, best known for My Octopus Teacher and his most recent book, Amphibious Soul. I've just finished reading that, and it really is fantastic. He has spent decades working with and learning from indigenous tribes from around the world with a focus on the Sandbush people of the Kalahari. Craig co-founded the Sea Change Project to protect and restore the great African sea forest and has dedicated his life to inspiring humanity's reconnection with nature. I want to personally thank Craig because I could not have done what we've done without his input. It's his lifetime commitment to the coastline that we'll be visiting that inspired our decision to host our gathering there. Next up, we have Zach Bush, MD. Zach is a renowned multidisciplinary physician of internal medicine, endocrinology, hospice care, and an internationally recognized educator on the microbiome as it relates to human health, soil health, food systems, and a regenerative future. He explores the intelligence and subtle energetics of nature, stressing the importance of humanity adopting more harmonious ways of living with our natural surroundings, and features in films like Kiss the Ground and Common Ground. It's an enormous honor to have you here, Zach. Thank you so much for making the time. Next is Matías De Stefano. Matías is an Argentine educator whose memories on universal knowledge have captivated audiences worldwide. His television series and documentaries, including the much-celebrated Initiation, have introduced millions to the themes of sacred geology, consciousness, and cultural memory. Matías, my wife Anna and I have watched you for years in your various series on Gaia. We've learned enormous amounts from you, and it truly is an honor and a privilege to have you here with us today. Thank you so much. So that's everybody introduced. I'd like, if I can, to start by asking Mohanji, what the importance you feel of these sorts of conversations are, these sorts of, bringing together souls that, as mentioned, are positively orientated, calibrated into the truth, and proactive. What's the significance of conversations like this?
Great significance. We are all birds of same feather. We are meeting not by accident. We have things to do on earth at this point in time and in this juncture where we can see a lot of insensitivity, large scale insensitivity. So all of us are here. Why are we together? It's because nature brought us together for the sake of giving an alternative to the world, and collectively we are very strong because individually we all have our space, but collectively we are a force. So that's the most important thing now. WTA is a platform which brought us together, but beyond WTA there is a purpose and there is a responsibility. I think we are fulfilling that now.
Excellent. Thank you, Mohanji. Craig, we're gathering in South Africa in no small part because of your contribution to this movement. You spent the whole of your life living on that wonderful coastline that's now considered to be the very Garden of Eden that human consciousness emerged from. Perhaps you could give us a quick sense as to how your work there has impacted your own spiritual journey, your own belief systems, and what you've learned from our deep ancestry that once roamed that coastline 200,000 years ago.
Oh, nice big question. I think, first, what's so powerful is to sense that we're all African by nature. We've spent 75-80% of our time as humans incubating in Africa. It's only in the much shorter period of time that we've migrated to the rest of the world. So we always say when anyone comes here, welcome home, because everybody has this great mother continent as a home. What's interesting about the area just up the coast here is we have this extraordinary archaeology. And the group of paleoscientists I've worked with have found in essence, it can be, you could almost say, the oldest computer or the oldest proto book in the world. It's 100,000 years old. It's a group of rock engravings made on red ochre. And it's the first time ever that we know of where a human being took an idea inside their head and put it onto an outside object. So it's the beginning of symbolic material culture. And when you have symbols, then you can create technology and everything we have today. So it's a profound leap, maybe the most profound leap in human consciousness at this staggering age, 100,000 years ago, just up the coast here. And I've spent a lot of time in these caves with these amazing scientists who, like Prof. Henshelwood, is my archaeology mentor. And when you spend time in the caves, you get this tremendous sense of our deep ancestors and just how sophisticated they were, just how it's almost impossible to sense their connection with nature because it's so deep and fascinating. And we can see fingerprints in the back of the caves at 100,000, the incredible chemistry kit. So it makes me proud to be a human animal because I've seen what our ancestors have come through and how difficult it was for us all to be here today. So I'm so deeply grateful to them and feel so connected to them. And this magnificent wisdom that comes with living so close to the earth. It's our, becomes our absolute teacher. And I think we desperately need to remember that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I remember when I came down with you to Cape Point, just even standing on that coastline had an impact on me without having to do much else. Such a powerful place. Zach, your work in unpicking the mysteries of nature has impacted countless souls around the world. You have a big focus on reconnecting with nature. What do you feel is the benefit of connecting to nature? And what do you feel the benefits to humanity would be if, on a larger scale, we started to calibrate more deeply into our natural surroundings?
At this point, I feel like it's less of a benefit and more of an absolute necessity for survival. We have so divorced ourselves from nature in our current version of human society that we have developed deep disorder within our biology. We are failing metabolically as a species, and we are driving an extinction event across the world as we continue to cut the relationships within nature. And we do this through what I call the antibiotic era. It is the era in which we created small molecule chemicals to destroy the unseen biology of soil systems and the human body ultimately. But we also created macro antibiotic systems in the form of fencing. And so colonialism led to this pattern across the world of a scarcity mentality that led to the desire for ownership, which led to the fences. And when you fence a continent like Africa, you end up breaking the relationships between natural systems. The herd animals can no longer move, and there's a decrement or a rapid degradation of natural systems and their interconnectedness. And this drives a rapid decline in biology. Biology thrives only in a setting of extreme interconnected relationships. The word biosis means in relation, in reference to the relationships that make life possible. And so when we start to cut these relationships, life does not occur. It's that stark. And right now we have 110 countries in the world that are in a extinction rate decline in their fertility and procreative capacity. There's only 2 countries that are really adding to the world's population, which is India and Central Africa right now. And so we've got an absolute crisis of biology due to our disconnect to nature. And so there's no longer an option for us to consider it a luxury or a benefit or an option for some part of society. It is a fundamental necessity for our reconnection at this point.
Thank you. And many people today do feel lost or disconnected. Is there one simple practice that you found to be particularly helpful for anybody listening that they can begin to reconnect?
It starts so simply. It's a simple process of becoming still in a natural setting, which doesn't require you to leave your urban environment even. It can be as simple as laying down on your back underneath a tree, looking up through those branches at a sky behind the tree, resets the neural patterning in the brain very rapidly. There's a chaotic system that's visually created by the crossing of the branches, the flickering of the leaves. And that chaotic system allows the nervous system to relax and recognize the macro patterns that sit within the chaos of the seen world. And so those macro patterns are seen throughout the cosmos, whether it's a giant supernova in space or the tree branches. Nature is built upon this invisible tapestry of sacred geometry, and your body senses those geometries very quickly when you relax the nervous system and overwhelm the visual cortex with a chaotic system, which could be a waterfall or that tree branch pattern. When the eye can no longer discern the pattern, it relaxes and allows the sensory organ of the whole human to kick back in. And once we start to discern nature through our entire organism, our feeling body, rather than our visual cortex, we find peace very quickly.
Beautiful. Wow. It's extraordinary. I think we all have an idea of what nature is, but maybe it's far more complex and interesting than most of us believe. And Matías, coming on to that, your work in bridging realms between this and the more subtle is legendary. What is nature to you? If you could define it for us, if that's even possible.
Well, of course, is a lot to define, but nature is basically birth, is the birth of everything. So, for me, in the universe, everything is an idea, and nature is the result of all the ideas combined, like huge network, a huge synapses of the entire cosmos that is being expressed, manifested. And of course, when you go deeper and deeper into nature, you can understand that basically Mother Nature is just the result of waves and magnetical fields and everything is kind of the same. It's just a projection of everything, and we are part of that projection. So for me, when we talk about nature and third dimension and this reality, is nothing else than just another expression of something that is multidimensional, that is something that is beyond our comprehension. So we are just being able to touch a little bit, like just 1% of what actually nature is. We are just observing the plants, the animals, the earth as we perceive it right now, but that is just the skin of the actual nature, which is so uh, beyond anything we can imagine. That's why even if we try to be more connected to other dimensions or other worlds or other realms or anything like that, we will come back to the main source of biology, evolution, to the main patterns, because the mind of the universe works like nature. Nature is just a result of that mind. So yeah, I think it's something much more vast than what we
Wow.
perceive. Mm.
Absolutely fascinating. truly. And when we spoke last, you mentioned some of the experiences you've had down on Table Mountain in the Cape of Good Hope, Cape Point. Perhaps you could share some of that with the people listening now, as that's where we'll be conducting our ceremonies in November.
Yeah. Well, for me, that place represents the anchor of the Kundalini, of the birth of Kundalini, of the snake of light in the entire planet. So in 2012, I went there to honor that place before going to any other place in the planet, so I could connect with its power. And and when I went there, for me was I thought it would be like a very beautiful spiritual connection with the origin. And what I found was rage and a lot of uh, yeah, like it was an angry entity that was taking power all around Cape Hope and all this territory, and it was a feminine energy also that was like screaming. And I was wondering why I was connecting with that frequency. And then during the whole journey that I was doing around the planet, I understood that um, because everything in our world is a perception and it's mind, um, all the source of power, which usually is in the root chakra, in the most basic energies, which is anger, rage, sexuality, all of that has been so misused because of our cultures, religions, traditions, ideas, perceptions, that all the infinite power of creation feels like trapped in the south. And and for me, it's very relatable because geologically, the mountains of the middle of Argentina, uh, which is called Tandilia, it's in the south of Buenos Aires, um, are the continuations of the Drakensberg chains of South Africa. So at one point they were connected, and I always was like feeling that that region, my country, represented a womb and something that is needed to be recreated. But every time that I went to those mountains in the south of Argentina, the whole information uh, took me to the Drakensberg, to the mountains in South Africa, saying that is the power or the source of energy that we need to pay attention to recalibrate the entire Kundalini of the planet. So that was with what I was connecting when I went there in 2012.
Fantastic. And what do you see as the potential from a gathering of elders and masters from all 6 continents on that land in November? Do you think there's a possibility of some form of alchemy of those energies that you experienced?
I think that when I used to think about humans like neurons in the planet. So every culture or tradition is a thought. So if we put different thoughts together that have been harvesting information for hundreds or thousands of years in shape of culture, tradition, it's creating an idea that when they all go back to the source where everything started, is like going back to the origin in our main idea, who we are, why we spread the mind in the planet. So I think it's very important that those neurons and those thoughts can get together and maybe rewrite something in the land of the origin. So I think it's very interesting.
That's beautiful. So thank you, Matías. Mohanji, perhaps you've got some comments to make on what you've heard so far.
Yes. Beautiful. Actually, the thoughts which are coming are resonating very deeply. See, there are 2 types of nature. One is the nature inside us, what we are. And the other is the nature outside us, which is a reflection of our nature. So when a collective consciousness is that of exploitation, that gets reflected in the nature outside. And inside the nature, it's completely within our control. That's the only thing which is in our control. So if we are able to purify it further and further and make it lighter, make it neutral, basically everything that is real is neutral. Our visible God factor is sun. Because of sun's rays and sun's presence, that earth is alive. Beings of earth are alive. That's because of sun. So sun is a very neutral being, or neutral expression of consciousness. Nature is neutral. All the elements are neutral. Water, air, everything is neutral. There's no partiality. Inside us, our soul factor is neutral. It has no interest in happiness or sorrows. It doesn't affect anything. It just energizes. And also, if you look at the factor of sun is not deciding to give you anything. Its nature is heat and light, energy. It is his nature. So when through sun, what we receive is what is natural for sun. Likewise, what is naturally, or what we naturally are, that gets reflected in the world outside. And the another side is the energy connectivity. See, like we started with the thought of why did we unite? We are all in separate worlds doing our thing, and probably we may not have met at all, but something brought us together. Craig, if you don't mind, I would like to take one example from your message. A few months ago, Craig wrote to me 2 or 3 messages on consecutive days saying that every day early morning he's waking up and feeling Mohanji is not well. And I was all right. So Craig sent me a message. I don't know why I'm waking up at 2 a.m. and I'm with the feeling that Mohanji is unwell. I had no problem at that time. In 1 week's time, I had Bell's palsy. In 1 week time. So see, this connection is real. Craig is in Cape Town, and probably Craig was traveling at that time, probably not even in Cape Town. I'm in another corner of the world. But something which has not happened to me was told by Craig to me. So this is what I'm saying. And this was practiced in the Indian philosophy a lot. See, there are a couple of incidents which I would like to tell. One is that there is this segment of spiritual masters called Nath, N-A-T-H. And there are some reports from the military who operate 20,000 feet high in Himalayas. They protect the border. And there are reports that they could see some people walking through the ice, glowing from inside. They were all shining bright. And these are the Nath masters. So these people, they recruit at the age of 10, students at the age before pre-puberty. And they recycle the semen inside, and they always maintain a particular age. Like Babaji is always 16-year-old. Means his body is like 16. He never becomes older. And he is maintaining the body like that forever. So through breath, through connection within, and through channelizing the energy, basically the 5 energy which moves are up, down, sideways, we call it prana. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. These are the functional energy movements. And then there's a source called the soul factor. This is our system. But these people, what they do, they channelize it in such a way, and they make the movement of energy vertical, and then they maintain a certain age or arrest growth. This is real. And also, they even abstain from eating. They don't need food. And also abstain from any interactions which are unnecessary. But they do communicate with people who are ready to evolve, or they seek something higher and larger. They do communicate and they connect, and they appear in various places. I had a similar experience also. I was walking around a temple. I saw one man, very strong-built man with only a loincloth, standing with a big stick and looking straight at me. So I bowed down to him. I felt he's very powerful. So I bowed down to him. I continued with my movement, and I came back. He wasn't there. So only one glance. And another incident happened was, I was in trance state for 3 days when I was in Kailas in Tibet. And I was completely senseless. I was in a different plane. So these people tried to revive me. And one man suddenly appeared in the room and said, "Will you kill my child? Kill our child?" And said, "Don't do anything," and disappeared. this is our people. There are people who have witnessed it. So what I mean to say is that there are energetic interactions well beyond what we can understand. They are communicating. One more thing I would tell about this Nath tradition. One of the people who tried to reach them in the caves about high in the Himalayas, and he had a big injury. One slice of ice cut his through his shoes and cut his leg, which became poisonous, and then he fell down. And some people took him to to one of these caves, and these masters who are living in those caves revived him. And then he said he found there are some materials made in USA many years ago, made in USA. So then he asked one of those people, how did these things come here? So he said, we support the scientists. You see, so this is what I'm saying. Said so many things which we don't know is going on in the world, especially this space called Gyanganj. Gyanganj is in Tibet, and we can't reach there. Great masters operate there, and they take people to that place. Technically, I am also connected to Gyanganj, but I have not gone there. The person who introduced me to Gyanganj has visited there, and that's a training ground. They train you what the people on earth cannot train you. So that's their function, for no money, nothing, and you can't even reach there unless they call you. So these interactions. So on one side, the nature's sensitivity, nature's support, which is deeply connected to our inherent nature. Then also we have these masters, high masters, constantly operating through us for something higher, something larger, provided we are selfless. The moment we shift to some name, fame, glory, selfishness, they withdraw completely because they have no interest in those things. So what I mean to say is that I always feel WTA is their child, not mine. I mean, even though I'm called as a founder, I don't think it's mine. It happened through me. And the purpose for that is we have to bring back sensitivity. We have to start feeling. We've been trained to be seeing oriented. We've been trained to use senses, eyes, ears, nose, skin, tongue, and then arrest us with those kind of pleasures or informations. But the shift is to that of feeling. Feel more. Like Zach was telling about the connection with the nature. That's really, really wonderful and beautiful and very ethereal in a way. It's not. I mean, it takes you to a different level completely. So I could feel it that way. So this is what I'm saying. So in some way, we are all collaborating for something much larger, where I think these masters whom we may not see, but they are also in getting involved in some way. Sorry if I deviated, but I thought it's important to tell this at this point in time.
No, thank you for sharing that, Mohanji. And I've had some experiences with you in India which defy all explanation. One of which was when we visited an avatar in your tradition, in the Dattatreya tradition, Swami Akalkot. We were taken to a banyan tree. Half of Swami's soul merged with that tree when he left his body. The other half went to Shirdi, rested in the great avatar Shirdi Sai Baba. So we were in a hotel, and this relates to nature, is why I'm sharing it, and it really changed me fundamentally. We were in a hotel in Akalkot. Mohanji was deeply unwell, and he said, "No, I won't go to the tree today. I won't go to what they call the samadhi." And so, out of nowhere, this fancy car pulls up, and the current king of Akalkot, climbs out and says, "Where's Mohanji? He must come to the tree, to the samadhi." And we hadn't contacted him. So Mohanji came down and, as always, surrenders himself fully. We went to the tree, and to cut a very long story short, they cleared out the pilgrims who were walking around and around the tree to receive its energies. And they opened the inner sanctum of the tree. This is one of the most magnificent trees you can possibly imagine. Enormous banyan tree. So they opened this gate, this metal gate, and within this gate, resting on the root of the tree, was a marble kind of shrine, small, like maybe 2 foot by 2 foot. And inside the shrine was a lit lamp. And the king said to Mohanji, would you mind putting your head inside the shrine? And so Mohanji did as instructed, and came out and had eyes like saucers and said, Dominic, put your head inside. I put my head inside the shrine and I was in outer space. Without exaggeration, I was in outer space. I could.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, it was so unbelievable. We were not in Earth. That's
Not
but small piece of thing. We put the head, and a completely different world. This was definitely not Earth. Nobody will believe it. Someday, perhaps we can go again. Yeah, it's true.
I would love to.
I had decided not to go, but the king came and took me, and he opened all the doors. And this experience.
It was truly life-changing. A lot of people got we had to process a lot after, because it was so powerful. But the reason I mention that is that there is this fundamental connection between the human system and nature, which we seem to have forgotten. I feel like a lot of the time, even within spiritual circles, we forget this fundamental element of our connection to nature. And the great masters in your tradition all talk of nature as the language they use. Perhaps you could share a little bit about Lord Dattatreya, of which, of course, Swami Akkalkot and Shirdi Sai Baba were avatars. How he referred to himself, or itself, I should say.
Lord Dattatreya is nature. As I said earlier, the main important things of life are all neutral. The space is neutral, time is neutral, everything is neutral, including our soul. The thing which energizes us is neutral. It's not interested in your happiness or sorrows or your thoughts or your emotions. The energy is not interested, just like electricity, not interested in the light bulb or television, or it just makes it alive. So Akkalkot, where we went, he appeared from nowhere. So he's expected to be a reincarnation of Lord Dattatreya. So Dattatreya was the master during Krishna's time, or even before. Means they're all from different eras. So when people asked Dattatreya, he was a very powerful master, only wearing a loincloth. He had 4 dogs with him, which are 4 Vedas, and a cow, a celestial being, etc. Anyway, Dattatreya, when people asked him, who are you? He said, I'm just a worshipper of nature. And then they asked him, where can we find you? He said, look into the nature. All that you see is me. So this is the main theme of WTA. All that you see is me. All that you see is God, or energy, or whatever we call. So our opportunity for reconnection through the indigenous, through the people who are children of nature, and bring back that sensitivity to earth, the wisdom keepers coming together and bringing the whole pool of wisdom for the use of the world. So that's one of the things. And Dattatreya has many manifestations. So he's various segments of people connect to Dattatreya differently. And they're all right, because some people connect to Datta with the moving energy, which is Shakti, the power. And Shakti has dimensions. So that is what Datta delivered, the 10 aspects of Shakti, the moving energy. And there are people following that, and they are the Shakti worshippers or Shakti practitioners. Then Dattatreya also delivered the Avaduta path, the path which I follow, which is connecting to the pure energy, consciousness, where we have no barriers, boundaries, no color, country, religion, nothing. We look at everybody as extension of ourselves, and we look at nature as part of us, inside and outside. So empty inside, empty outside. And 3 aspects of that, it's usually 3 heads, are the waking state, the state where we are awake, the dream state when we are dreaming. So waking state, we are connecting to the world outside. The dream state, we are connecting with our world inside. And then the deep sleep state, we connect to no worlds, death state. So these 3 states every 24 hours. And the 4th state, where everything is being witnessed. So that's practiced during waking state. So this is the technique we use to connect to the other dimensions or the dimensions beyond the waking dream and deep sleep, to the dimension of witnesshood, where you are exactly like the soul inside, a witness to the life, but not affected by life. Like a sun is a witness to everything, but is not involved with anything. Wind or water or river or ocean, witness to everything, but not affected or not involved. So that's the state which Avaduta are masters who are empty inside and empty outside. That's the path which I'm walking. Dominic and we are all. It's called Raja Yoga, the royal path. The royal path is a path where your connection is with the energy inside, and through this we connect to the energy outside. In a distant illusion, we can say what Jesus said: "Me and my Father are one." Means what is inside me and what is outside of me is same. Only thing is that the operating tools are different. The Father has a whole universe to handle. What is inside me has our universe to handle, personal universe. So this is in short what is Datta. I can keep on talking about Datta, but that's not our plan. So I think if you have a question, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Mohanji. I think that's super helpful. And I think that I just wanted to really draw that connection between our platform, between the World Tribe Alliance and this particular tradition of masters of which you are a part, and their deep, deep, infallible connection to nature. I actually have
Dominic,
a question for Zach next.
May I add one more thing? When we spoke to the Alaskan elder, even though he does not know anything about that, it's completely different. But he said one thing, what is inside you is exactly what is outside of you, remember? And he said, the thing
of Alaska.
the Alaskan elder. And they said the thing that he's the one who said, I want to see the eyes of this man who's talking. Then I know him. So he connected to my eyes. So he also said one thing, if you want to reach that world outside, you have to reach this world inside. That's exactly what I've been saying. It's interesting how these people, very distant, not even connected to this tradition, but completely same message.
No, indeed. No, it's
so we're all one.
It's extraordinary to see the commonality between everybody on this call and your messaging, and then also of the elders and of Mohanji himself. Thank you for sharing. Zach, you've done some extraordinary work with Indigenous elders from around the world. I'm sure we'd all like to hear how Indigenous wisdom and working with these beings has impacted your own personal and spiritual journey.
Yeah, the word Indigenous has become, I think, another potential othering, term that it's, even when I use it on a daily basis, I have to check myself to make sure that I'm not using it in description of somebody else. Like we are Indigenous as humans. We are each made of the minerals of this earth. And in this current animation of our souls, we're all Indigenous to this planet. And I think there was a deep evil in some ways being played out in my life for a lot of years, where I walked around feeling and even saying, I don't feel like I'm from this planet. And that's, I think is a real disservice to the decision for me to show up here right now. I decided to show up in this exact time, this exact iteration, as a being of Earth. Perhaps not from Earth in regards to the ways in which the cosmos functions, but I am of the Earth. I have taken her minerals through the bloodstream of my mother and manifested a body through my own creation. My mother did not create me. I created myself within the womb of a woman who surrendered her womb to source. It's the only part of the human body that is unable to be seen. It has to be completely masked from the mother so that she doesn't kill whatever grows within it. Her immune system would annihilate the biology within it if it were to see it for even a moment. And so it is the one part of the body that, like the tree that you stuck your head through and saw the other cosmos, for me, that's the womb. The womb, the center of the human being, Dan Qian in the Chinese tradition, this center of centers within a male or female body is a place of absolute surrender to the greater manifestation of the soul. And so here we have a cultural disconnect rather than a people's disconnect. And so we are all Indigenous, but many of us come from cultures that have forgotten the story of connection and source energy for a human body. And for that, we behave as if we do not belong here and that nature's against us. And this plays out at every level. And so when you get to sit with a human being who has not forgotten that it is of Earth and it has long been connected to the patterns of this planet, the wisdom that comes through is extremely profound. It's instantaneously has access to everything, is my general experience. And this can be seen even in a remembering of this. I think of Victor Schauberger as an example. He was, very much Austrian colonial mindset, and yet he was the 5th generation of men in his family to be a forester in the same part of nature. And in that 5th generation of witnessing the beauty of nature in the same territory, the whole cosmos seemed to open up to him, and he made observations and scientific discoveries from the natural world that had been hidden from humans for thousands of years. And so it was this patient re-witnessing of the beauty of nature that got him back into his indigenous knowing of everything. I think maybe it's worth pointing out a definition of consciousness here. My current definition of this is consciousness is the aperture by which any finite system will witness an infinite reality. Consciousness is the aperture through which a finite system will witness the infinite reality that we are in. And so when you sit in nature and you stay connected to that natural system, your aperture is extremely wide. And so you can put your head through a tree and see, a completely different realm. You can sit under a tree and experience extreme levels of genius and insight and recognition of patterns. You can feel somebody else's condition, as Craig felt Mohanji's, impending illness coming on. These interconnected systems are a process or a phenomenon of opening up that aperture. And that takes stillness and the capacity to witness, and then the willingness to participate in the game. And so the capacity to witness, I think, is the divine masculine. The participation in the game of life, this animation of biology, is the divine feminine. And when each individual sits still enough to discover both that divine masculine, the capacity to witness everything, and the opportunity to flow in this dimension of Earth to time, Earth to space, we're in this thin opportunity to express nature through ourselves. And we do that by tapping into this vast, infinite reality that we live within. Stillness, witness, get in the game.
Wow, fantastic. I think we can all feel the mother talking to you right now, Zach. What a blessing. Thank you. I think you're channeling something very profound. Craig, you're known in your filmmaking for going deep into nature, sometimes in circumstances which other people would find terrifying, so that you can, I feel when I talk to you that it's a spiritual endeavor that you're on, and that the film is sort of a side effect of it. That you go so deep into nature, and as a result, you bless all of us with your experiences through film and books. One of the most extraordinary iterations of that was Into the Dragon's Lair. Perhaps you could share a little bit about your experiences making that film with the Nile crocodiles and what you got from that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dom. I'm taken further back as I'm listening to everybody's conversation, and it relates to the Dragon's Lair. In 1998, I was in the Central Kalahari with my brother and 3 incredible master trackers. And Nate Nanklabe, who was this incredible tracker, said to me, when you're tracking, you're talking with God. And at the time, I was, it's quite a long time ago. That's what, 27 years ago. It sounded wonderful, but I didn't really know what he was talking about. And part of the journey, because it was just incredible to meet him and Kwasi and Karua, the other trackers, but it was also very disturbing for me because I realized how far I was away from Mother. And part of the journey of trying to get close to Mother was these crazy adventures I went on with my brother and my friend Roger and so on. And one of those was to try to get into the lair of a giant Nile crocodile, basically the place where they drag their prey in the middle of the Okavango Delta. I dived with the big sharks, great whites and tiger sharks, but it's totally different with a crocodile because a crocodile actually sees humans as prey. It comes up on the predator response as a perfect prey size. And so it was this kind of naive endeavor, but also a beautiful adventure to try and find the wildness that we all are talking about here. How do you find wildness? Do you go into, that place where that big, massive reptile is taking its prey? And you would think that you would find that there. So, but we found enormous adventure, an enormous amount of adrenaline, and thank God nobody was killed. But it was not to be found there. When I was following the breadcrumbs that Nate had left for me, they came back to just outside the window of my house, not in the wilds of Botswana, to these tiny little limpets, these animals that look like little stones on the rocks. And I was able to watch them every day and get into their secret lives. And see the little tracks they left as they grazed on the different substances, how they tended their gardens. And this is what Nate was talking about, that when you start to actually see the physical signs of the tracks, the thousands everywhere, even in cities, you see these incredible signs, these very subtle signatures of the wild. You start that conversation with nature. You start the conversation with the divine, because as we all well know, nature is the closest thing to divine expression that you can find. And strangely enough, in this mysterious way, you can get some information back from that wild place. But it often happens in the most benign way. You don't need to go into the crocodile's lair. You just need to watch the fly or the chameleon or the bird in your backyard, but to know it in deep conversation. And that's the excitement I have and the passion I have now, is to feel that divine expression through the tracks. It's quite solid. It's embedded, and I can see all these signs that animals have left. So I can go back and forward in time, and then sometimes this mysterious thing comes where the conversation opens, and I don't fully understand it, but those words of Nate just coming back to me again and again, and it's just so exciting. It's a real blessing.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you for sharing that. So beautiful as always. And there seems to be a theme in this conversation around quieting ourselves and sort of spending time in nature and not trying to do too much. And it doesn't seem that it takes much, interestingly, for that connection to take place. Matías, when we again spoke last, you mentioned the forming of a rainbow bridge. And I've noticed in a lot of your work, you referenced this rainbow bridge. Could you maybe just elaborate a bit on that and the role you feel that bridge plays in the ascension of humankind, if that indeed is what you feel is happening?
So there are many layers on what the Rainbow Bridge represents, because of course there are many traditions and ancient stories that talk about this Rainbow Bridge being the place how the gods would travel from one world to the other and connecting with humanity, and how we can travel also to other dimensions. But we are very connected to stories like that in a very cinematographical way, where humans jump in a kind of a spaceship and travel through a bridge of rainbow colors, and and then from the stars, others come here. But actually, when we think about how actually the universe works, it's not about going outside; it's about going within. So I love to remind a lot of people that that we have something that we call the rainbow bridge within ourselves, which is the body of color, something that in Greek is chromosome. So chromosoma, or the body of colors, it's actually the rainbow bridge where all the genes, all information, all the history of every divinity in the universe, from hydrogen, carbon, they all got together to shape the infinite power into something very tiny that can shape everything. So I would say that that rainbow bridge is actually the inner and infinite power that we have been harvesting through evolution in every realm of our nature, and by eating, um, by breathing, by moving around in nature, and evolving by migrating and touching every continent and every mineral, we are absorbing all this rainbow, which is basically the colors of every chemical that is within ourselves, and that is connected to every sun, star, galaxy, everywhere. And so when I started to receive all these callings about uniting the tribes, bringing all the rainbow bridge, um, I thought it was related to bring different people together, but actually it was more about putting every aspect of one being together and recognizing the origin of this only one being and the inner power that that being have. And from there, the others can activate their own rainbow within, so everyone can get together. Because sometimes I have experienced this thing of uh, let's bring everyone together as a new connection for respecting the different ethnicities, cultures, and so on. But if the rainbow bridge is not being worked within each other, it's just a bunch of people trying to survive. The same way as when you put too many animals together. Uh, so, so we have so much work to do with our own ancestors, our own inner power, our own rainbow bridge, which is the chromosome, and all the infinite potential that is inside. That I think that when different people get together, more than believing we are that rainbow bridge, is we are here in service to see how our inner colors are triggered by the others to work on how can we connect that power in the same way as plants interact with in biology, how animals interact in nature. We have this this ability to weave these colors, which are all these chemicals, all these elements that created us. And I think that's one of the main uh, points to start building the rainbow bridge, going back to the past, acknowledging who we are within, working with our ancestors, with our own traditions, with our own ideas, and shaping them until we see the possibilities, the infinite possibilities when we connect with the others' ancestry, cultures, traditions, and so on. And yeah, I think that that's one of the most important layers of the rainbow bridge, beyond the ones that we are told in traditions, and stories, and myths, talking about other worlds. First, to connect the inner worlds, which are the cells.
Wow, beautiful. You mentioned last time again that we spoke that the bringing together of these representatives of Mother Earth, their very presence in stepping foot on that land is sufficient, and that oftentimes there's a feeling that something needs to happen and that a song needs to be sung or a prayer needs to be made. Could you elaborate a bit on that too? I found that really fascinating. That just as representatives of these different aspects of the mother, just coming together, is something happens, some sort of form of calibration happens.
Yeah. When we start to the same way as when something moves our inside, like maybe we watch a movie, or maybe someone sings a song, or maybe I do a trip that changed my life, or someone says a word that changed my perspective. Um, that starts a whole big movement inside our bodies. And most of the times, the biggest changes don't happen because we want for them to happen, but because we were open to receive unexpected things that we were not programmed to listen before. So things that actually move everything inside ourselves. And I guess that when we see the planet Earth not just a home for humans, but humans as part of the living organism, which is Earth, in the same way as we inside have virus and bacteria that helps us to function constantly. Humanity is that for the planet. We are also functioning system for this world. So the moment our cells, our um, um, our energies move through different places, we are creating uh, like a point of gravity of a lot of information in one specific spot. It's like if many of the white cells in the body, they travel all to the heart to heal a wound. And most of us, we have no idea what the wound is until we all meet together. So it's impossible to know exactly the purpose of what is bringing us there until we don't resound and allow ourselves to receive what the others have brought, so I can see the entire picture. So what I was saying the other day is that I love to arrive to the place not knowing anything about the others, or who the others represent, or what they have done, or if they're important people, or if that or the place that where we are doing it is the right one or not. I love the surprise of not knowing. So it enables the real power of everyone to share what it's needed to be shared in that moment, and not the expectation of it. And in that moment, it's like if all these white cells get together and feeling it, they just heal a wound. Um, so when when so many people are called to be together to a place like this, and we spoke about that importance before of that territory, it's clearly like a call um, for a discovery, I believe. Like, what everyone has within that will be useful for that territory. And for sure, we are going to discover it there, not by expecting it. And that's the adventure uh, of living our life as biology.
Wow, it's fascinating listening to you talk. When Mohanji first asked my wife Anna and I to take this project on, it was a thought in his mind, albeit a very powerful thought. And the one instruction he gave us was that we weren't to go and proactively, use our clever minds to select the elders and the ambassadors and the people that would be involved in this platform, that they would actually just naturally emerge, which has been a fantastic practice for me, because obviously there's an enormous amount of surrender and faith involved in that equation. And then sure enough, look at the call we're on now. So obviously it worked. But this idea of not being too clever, I think is really something that's come across from all of the elders that are joining us. One conversation that I had with an Australian elder went as follows. They said, well, I asked them the question, what advice would you give for humanity in crafting a new system for us all to live by? And they said, well, the problem is inherent in your question. There is nothing that the human mind can come up with that hasn't got its own destruction built into it. What one must do if they hope to see a better day and a more beautiful reality is to foster the conditions for the emergence of love. So we just foster conditions. We don't have any expectation as to what might happen. And I love that you've referenced that in the way that you've described this gathering. I think that, for the best of all of our intentions, we have no idea what it will be. And I think as a result, that's why it will be so very, very beautiful. Zach, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you've heard some of these amazing contributors share.
Yeah. The concept of the rainbow bridge ties into something that I think Mohanji had mentioned earlier too, that life is essentially a concentration of light energy. It takes a massive increase in the concentration of light energy to create enough information and available energy to coordinate something as complex as life is. And so current estimates are that the mitochondrial machinery within the human cell is generating anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 times more sunlight per cubic centimeter than the sun. And so you have to concentrate light energy through the phenomenon of biology to allow biology to continue to emerge as more and more complex system. And so this is the history of the Earth that Craig is so excellent at documenting as we moved from slime molds to our current complexity on Mother Earth. The complexity of life was allowed by an increasing capacity to concentrate light energy. And this is a phenomenon that is made possible by the dance between water and carbon. On this planet, we see the concentration of sunlight and carbohydrates and fatty acids from the chlorophyll activity of anything that appears green in our planetary system. And that green is the chlorophyll that's taking the sunlight and storing it there. That's then converted back to light energy within the human system or any multicellular creature, whether it be a tree, an earthworm, a dog, or the human. We're all manifesting life through a liberation of light at the cellular level that's allowing for this complex system to occur. And so when you start to appreciate the role of water, carbon, and light, you start to realize that every practice that's ever been put into any cultural or religious setting looks to the 5 elements. It's looking to the earth, the water, the air, the fire, and the ether, the space between. And those 5 elements are exactly what we can now scientifically, very exactingly demonstrate as to the process of life itself. And by reconnecting to the 5 elements and retuning our own bodies, that we can see nature as this phenomenal tuning fork for intelligence to occur in. And so right now I celebrate the fact that science is starting to get to the point where we can really understand the underpinnings of the stories that have been told to us through our religious practices and spiritual texts for thousands and thousands of years. These were basically, efforts to help a humanity that had not yet understood the infinite nature in which we were living in, to hold on to stories that would help us back to this nature, that would help us move to this next epoch where we would remember, we would begin to reconnect to our physical capacity and our full spiritual expression as humanity. And so this concept of the rainbow bridge, I think, is a story that comes through many religious texts, and in our science, we're starting to understand that it is the water structure within a human cell that holds the DNA in the strand-like chromosomal, manifestation that Matías was referring to there. And in the end, we see this phenomenal, reality unfolding that the DNA is holding light energy in the magnificence of the liquid crystal of water inside of a living system, which is not liquid, it's a gel. And so that liquid crystal, and it's holding the information, the light is programming it, and the DNA is the result. The DNA is an expression of light, water, and carbon in this living life form. And so this living rainbow is ready to upgrade. We are ready to go to a more complex version of ourselves. So we're reaching this moment of a new epoch in human history that I think will be defined by human industry and creativity reconnecting to the 5 elements. And as we increase the amount of light energy available to biology through our understanding of how earth, water, air, fire reconnect, we can actually create technologies biologically that are reinforcing our full capacity, not just as a human biology, but as a planetary biology. And this, I believe, is actually what has been done by us and others in the past is we built large pyramids throughout Africa at specific points to increase the etheric connection of the planet to the 5 elemental system that allows the concentration of light energy. So from pyramids to the rainbow bridge of human DNA, we are starting to remember how to concentrate light energy, how to increase the complexity of information within a human cell, how to increase the connectivity of a whole planet to the natural systems of a universe that has an infinite capacity for energetics and information. And so in this next epoch, we will remember and we will reconnect. What remnant of humanity survives that will be an interesting process. And I have a lot of curiosity for that of, is our current biologic, expression as humans supposed to survive to this next epoch? Or is the wisdom that Craig is showing us, will it be some other species that rises in this next, iteration of water, carbon, and the DNA rainbow bridge? How is this planet going to participate in this next iteration of the concentration of light energy within the life force of biology to express even higher intelligence? Selfishly, I hope some segment of humanity survives in our current version, because I would love to see Mohanji in the next version and see just how bright this man will burn. So I have a lot of curiosity for it and a lot of excitement for where we are as human history. And I think that, Craig, your work is such a poignant example of what we have been missing. And largely you're revealing to us in your underwater world a beauty we have largely forgotten about, or perhaps have never even had the opportunity to perceive at the detail that you've brought it to us through the technology of your cameras and the technology of your spirit and your sensory organism that is finding that beauty for us. So we're just at this verge. I just feel this intense possibility that just is sitting here, and we have to tolerate the darkness of humanity just a bit longer to see if we can do this transmutation and cross that rainbow bridge.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, Mohanji, perhaps you could share a bit.
Yeah, Zach, interesting. Actually, very, very interesting. When I had my rather decent communion in 2007 with masters, one of the things they said was, you have to work with 3 types of people, and it may not be all that fascinating or all that good. One type of people are from other planets, other planes. They didn't use the word planet, but other planes means intergalactic, probably. They don't belong to Earth. They came to Earth out of curiosity to know how a body of elements operate and what is the effect. So they were curious. So they came here. So these people stayed on for 2 reasons. One is that they felt they have a duty here. Second types of people, they got addicted here and they forgot where they came from. Like, for example, students go to a different country to learn and they stay back in the country and do the job and get married and stay on. Something like that. So then they also said one thing, but these people are always looked after from where they came from, or from the place they came from, because their connection never goes. Means their people are connecting to them always. But at the right time, these people will stop existing here and they will go back. So this is one type of people they told I have to work with. Second type of people have stayed on in different eras of Earth. One was a fully conscious era where they were fully conscious that they are a conglomeration of brightness, and to the level where now they're fully dark, they think they are the personality, a human being. They forgot that they are actually conglomeration of brightness. So these are the second type of people, because since they have lived in different eras, in different levels of consciousness, they might be interested to go back to where they came from or where they started. So these 2 types. Third type of people belong to only this era. They have no interest in any other era. They have no interest in evolution. They have no interest to know anything subtle. They are completely sense-oriented, pleasures all connected to senses, and they will have particular activity, religion, everything which supports their type of existence. So when you said this was very interesting because I suddenly remembered this. Because Earth contains these three types of people. That's why we have 9 billion people. But most of the people here, they are from this time. They are not interested in the subtle. That's why we are destroying the Earth so much. We are killing beings so much. We are insensitive. That's because they are not interested. And even if you tell various things, they will still continue with their own system or own this thing. So this is one of the points I wanted to tell. So the levels of awareness. Second aspect I would like to tell. See, mostly why we are not able to understand the larger realities is that we are trying to put it through our brain, through intellect. But if you look at all the great masters of the past, they have not used intellect, they have used awareness. Awareness is far more powerful and far more wide when you want to explore the larger realities. So they say there are two types of intellect people use normally. One type of intellect is what we collect data from the outside world and process it and makes it our own. Second type of intellect is where we find things out logically. Using of course, there is a background is the collected data, but we find our own understanding and methods. The third type of intellect is what is about awareness. That's only can be achieved through observation, meditation, objective view, or witnesshood, if I can use that word. Means you are being a witness, not participating, but you are actually being that thing at that point in time. So you feel more, that this is the path is feeling. Feel more and be more silent. So feeling, silence, awareness, that takes you to that realm. And then you actually understand what a flower feels like. The neutrality of a flower. It blooms, but it doesn't know what it blooms for, and it doesn't care. Its fragrance goes out. It has no idea who will experience its fragrance, but it doesn't care. So that level of a complete organic, normal existence, where they have no agenda, no plan, but at the same time they are just being there. So this is the third aspect of intelligence is what we need. That is what most of these elders, wisdom keepers, they operate from that level. That is why, if you look at the knowledge of India, like Ayurveda is mostly through this aspect. Through awareness, they found out. So various things. See, some of the people whom we spoke in the WTA conferences, they also mentioned that they meditate on the plant, and the plant tells them what it contains. So it's so organic and so beautiful because our connection reveals it. But we are not having such time, and we are using experiments. We are killing animals, birds in laboratories, etc. And we are creating a lot of pain and agony for trying to learn something. But in the bargain, we accrue a lot of what do you call negative energy in a way. If it is not negative karma. So this is the point, that we could do much better. I mean, and through subtlety, there's nothing you cannot find. And various people, as I said, I have met various people who are not from this plane because their operating level is completely different. They may not even talk to you, but they know you. They feel you. I met many people like that. So I mean, we don't have to interact. Every time we meet, it'll be like we have always together. So that there's no formality in it. That's all in the mind. And when you go beyond the mind to the level of awareness, what we get is unbelievable. It's really, really huge. So, but it's very difficult to explain. What you experience is very difficult to explain. And I would say, don't try to explain, because that's a wasted exercise. Who are you talking to? The people who may not even connect to that frequency. Those who connect to that frequency will understand silence. And silence is something which is in the Indian tradition, they have defined it very, very clearly. The first level of human existence is you have a desire, you fulfill it, you have a bit of silence of mind. Then you have a desire, but you really don't want to fulfill it. So the silence expands because you are not really keen to fulfill it. Third level, because you are not fulfilling, thoughts become shrunk. Thoughts reduce. And because thoughts reduce, mind collapses. Then you cannot return back. Then you are in perpetual silence mode. Because thoughts are the noise of the mind. The thoughts are dying, and automatically mind is collapsing. You still have a mind, you know who you are, but at the same time, you're not controlled by the thoughts structure. So these are all things which are probably connected to what we discussed just now.
Okay, thank you so much, Mohanji, for sharing all of that. And again, there seems to be this theme running through our conversation around silence and around that being a prerequisite for connection. Craig, you have been instrumental in the success of Kwatu, the Indigenous San People Center that we'll be basing our gathering at. Perhaps you could just share a little bit about Kwatu and what it means and its significance for everybody listening.
Yeah, it's an absolutely wonderful place. It's just about 2 hours drive up the west coast from Cape Town. And I think it's been going for 23 years. It's a real shining light of a place. I've been involved right in the beginning when actually the proceeds of one of our films, The Great Dance, went to buying a few eland that are now quite a big herd there. But I've contributed very little in the grander scheme of things to this magnificent place. And now we work with the young interns, San interns that come from these remote villages, and they spend 6 months there and they learn all about San culture. And our job is to reintroduce them to the old ancestors who used to live along the coast. And we take these interns into the ocean, or sometimes for the first time. And it's a very powerful experience, often in the middle of winter with no wetsuits. And it's quite a thing. And then we do coastal tracking. We work with the San elders at Kwatu, who are the teachers of the interns, people like Roman and another Matías. And it's just the most extraordinary privilege to work in this way with this passionate group of people. Michael Diber, I know very well, has been there for I think the full 23 years, and it's run by the San. It's a huge success. They've been through really difficult times, but it just is a very, very special place. And when you go there, you can feel it immediately. It's got that the heartbeat of that indigenous wisdom is just running through the place, and they work so hard, and everybody's very, very keen on everything. So it's a real privilege to be involved in a small way, to learn and pass on some of the knowledge.
We weren't sure where we were going to base this gathering. It was very interesting because when Mohanji first mentioned the conversation that you'd had with him about this being the cradle of human culture and the significance of it and how beautiful it would be for the purest among the human collective to return back into the lap of the mother and to contemplate upon the gift that she'd given us of independent thought on that land. It felt so special. And then this opportunity came for us to host the gathering in Drakensberg, which Matías mentioned earlier. And so, but nothing worked. I was trying to send deposits and it just was not clicking. So that's when I actually came to South Africa, came to your beautiful home and spent time with you. And it became very clear then that, in fact, the original plan was the plan and that we ought to be in the Cape Peninsula for this initiative. And then synchronistically, the man on the ground, Theo, who's organizing the logistics of the event, called me and said, there's this place called Kwatu, and you and I hadn't discussed that at that point. would you like to check it out? And I said, why not? And again, we weren't sure where we were going to host this gathering. And as soon as I stepped foot on that land, there's almost a celestial presence there. It's so light. It's just so lovely. And then, of course, it transpired that you've been involved in it for 23 years. So that felt like a huge confirmation from the universe. Just to say a huge thank you to Michael for everything he's done in the setup of this event. He's been really fantastic. Matías has had to step away for a bit for health reasons. But if there's anything else anyone would like to share at this point, please do so. We're coming to the end of our conversation.
Yes, thank you. In fact, I was thinking when we were talking about this, see, these connections, that's what we started our conversation with. These connections has to be celestial. Because the work is grand, work is celestial, not ordinary. Because none of us are here for any personal gains, any personal purpose. And look at the size and the frequency of our discussion. That itself is not ordinary. See, this is beautiful. This is exactly what should happen in the world. We are bombarded with negative information over televisions and other things. But what we need right now is the alternative thoughts connected to nature. Thoughts. Not many people are talking it. Individually, yes, but collectively not. So, and also forums. They are all white elephants, most of them, because they are conglomerating people, but nothing is happening. Action has to happen. If action is not happening, we are just wasting time. So the indigenous integration is the need of the hour, need of the time. Because if that's not happening now, it's probably never. That's what that Hawaiian elder, or Alaskan, I think, probably he himself said, that this is the time for it because the wisdom is scattered. It's time to conglomerate wisdom. And if you don't do that now, it may not be for any time. It might be lost forever. So this is the thing. And also we have gone through tremendous degeneracy in awareness, where we started believing we are the personality, but we forget that we are here only for about 30,000 days on Earth. The eras, which the time has changed things rapidly, and it keeps changing things rapidly. But we have to stick with our purpose, stick to the purpose, stick with our thought. And nobody is higher, nobody is lower. This is beyond caste, creed, country, culture, color, language, every barrier. And we have to bring this idea in some level to all the people, beyond boundaries, beyond borders. So that's so beautiful. Anyway, I'm not trying to conclude it here. You can conclude. But what I mean to say is that this is not an ordinary meeting. I don't look at it as another get together, because these are substantial things, and probably more and more people may join of the same frequency, birds of same feather, and they will take things forward. The next generation will take this forward, because this will be a trendsetter. WTA is not just a body. Maybe it will be like United Nations of the Indigenous. And also, there are so many tribals who have lost their indigenous nature. They have adopted the modern lifestyle, jobs and other things, and they lost it completely. And then now, probably they will be happy to revive it, and they may come back into the stream of it. Otherwise, they would be reminded that there was something else in the past and go back and find it. So if that happens, then we are very successful. If people thought, hey, I have lost my past or my nature, originality, culture, I must get it back. And if that happens, then we have really done a good job. It's not for any glory, but I'm saying that this is a responsibility in the short span of time on Earth. Yeah, we live as if we'll never die, but then death is always walking with us anytime. So whatever we earn here or achieve here, we have to leave behind. But we have to put a signature now for the next generation to catch. That's what I felt.
Thank you, Mohanji. One thing that's very clear with the projects that we run at the World Tribal Alliance is how what's needed on the ground in these communities is actually very practical. so that their wisdom conditions can flourish. And it's things like generators and aluminium boats and, temple repair. And then what seems to happen is that this intelligence that we've all been referring to in this incredible conversation reemerges spontaneously, and what's lost tends to come back quite fast. So long as the rest of the world values these communities and these traditions sufficiently to provide the very basic requirements that they need for that to propagate itself. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's important for everyone to remember that we have a responsibility in the modern world, I feel, to do our part in maintaining these traditions, which Zach referenced earlier, belong to all of us. We're all indigenous to this planet. How could we not be? So thank you for that, Mohanji. And Zach, any final comments from yourself?
I deeply appreciate the efforts of the World Tribal Alliance. I think that it's been a great encouragement and excitement that I've seen a number of different groups arising now that are bringing together these wisdom lines from around the world. And it may be the first time in history, which intrigues me. Like we have deep, Amazonian elders and shamans who are now doing deep work with, our Kalahari brothers in Africa. And it's unlikely that these people groups have had the level of intimate connection that they're currently achieving through groups like WTA. And so I have a lot of excitement that this is how we open up that aperture of consciousness. This is how we open up the finite experience of the infinite reality we live in, is by connecting more biology. And the more connections we have, the more intelligence occurs. And so the WTA is a symptom of this deep soul desire for all of us now to not just reconnect to nature, but reconnect to the nature within human beings. And by creating this hyper connection, we get hyper intelligence out of that. And so I think we become part of the next epoch, if we will continue to interconnect. And those that have sat the longest and stillest in nature will hold the greatest wisdom to share. And so it is exciting that it is not the busy work of tech companies and industry and manufacturers that's going to define the humanity's role in this next epoch. It's going to be those who sat long and silent in nature that will give us this hole of the needle, this eye of the needle that we need to shoot through to survive our own extinction event will occur because of and as a tribute to the long hours spent in silence in nature, listening into our original divine nature of the masculine and feminine that allows us to occur as manifested beings on this beautiful, beautiful planet. And it's no wonder to me that so many forms of consciousness and so many forms of intelligence have arrived on this planet over the eons for the beauty that lies here. This is a planet that is exhibiting the very purpose of the divine, which is to bring forward more and more complex systems of beauty. And for that, we become we step into our birthright, perhaps, when we participate in the witnessing of beauty. And when a human being witnesses beauty, I believe quite uniquely, we vibrate in a very specific frequency of unconditional love. And I'm not sure that all beings of intelligence get that experience. I think it's what separates us from many of the other intelligent life forms that are, predate humans and everything else. We actually have this ability to witness the beauty and vibrate in a frequency of it. And so for this phenomenon, I believe we play a really critical role in the overall expression of the divine within the universe itself, and certainly on this planet. And so if you want to contribute to the survival and maturation of a human species as we step into a more humane chapter of our expression, sit quietly beneath a tree, sit in nature, witness the beauty, feel your body vibrating the frequency of unconditional love, overcome the triad of the victim, perpetrator, savior that has you locked in there in this smaller version of yourself. Shatter that with your capacity to vibrate more.
Extraordinary. How beautiful. Thank you. How beautiful. Yeah, it's such an honor to have all of you on this call and for this wisdom to be pouring to each of you in this way. Really, thank you. Craig, any final comments for us?
It's hard to follow on the those words are so profound, Zach. It's like hearing poetry when you talk. They're so wonderful. But my thoughts were similar in a way. I mean, we've just crossed 7 of the 9 planetary boundaries for human health on the planet. So we're in a very fragile position. We have the mother, biological diversity, which is literally the heartbeat of our life. It's our life support system. And somehow all the energy, so much of the energy is going into wealth production in terms of financial gain, when the real wealth of this planet is this incredible biological diversity, this incredible heartbeat of mother. And as so many of you have said so beautifully, much of that wisdom of that heartbeat and how it works lies within the indigenous wisdom, and is held by those people who've been closest to nature, the San and so many of the other indigenous people around the world. And as everybody said it so profoundly, and it lies within all of us. We can remember 300,000 years of our species living fully wild, in full reciprocity with Mother, in full dialogue with Mother. And now in the last few seconds of time, we've severed many of those threads to our wild kin. So it makes sense that we need to get together and bring these incredible elders like you, by some miracle, have managed to do, to remember who we are and to remember what we need to do. And we need to do everything we can to protect and revive biological diversity, because that is the life support system of ourselves and every other organism on this planet. That is the most important thing we can ever do. So I will, do anything to make that happen. And I think we certainly have a good chance with the amazing people that are still alive and know this to be true. So thank you so much, everyone, and the enormous efforts to do so. Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you. So beautiful. And I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge all of you for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedules to make this happen. It's a huge honor, frankly, for you to consider this platform your home. I know that you all do. I know that from the conversations I've had with each of you that you feel this resonance with what is being created. So thank you for your trust and your faith. I'd also like to acknowledge the masters who are not with us, who I feel very clearly working through me every day, despite all of my density and my shortcomings. I just want to acknowledge those that are sitting with us now, who, again, very clearly are orchestrating this most wonderful, wonderful thing that we're all a part of. So thank you all. I love you all. I'm very grateful to you all. And I'm very excited to see those of you that can make it to South Africa. Zach, you will be walking with us in spirit. I have no doubt about that. And I hope and I pray that you'll be with us physically for the next gathering that we do. So thank you all so much. And there's nothing really more for me to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Love to all of you. Love you all.
Love to everyone. Bless you guys. Thanks a million.
Blessings. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Cheers.